Hello, welcome to Downing High School Online, home of the virtual Vikings. I'm your favorite history teacher slash wrestling coach, Mr. Acevedo, and today we're going to be talking about the causes of the Civil War. So as of right now, you should have went over with your teacher Manifest Destiny. You might have went over this painting, and basically Manifest Destiny is the belief that the U.S. was ordained, it was destined to spread its democracy from sea to shining sea. So basically it was a destiny that the United States was going to cover all the way from the Atlantic Ocean, as you see here in the map to your right, to the Pacific Ocean. And it was a destiny that the United States was going to do. And they actually did it. And by 1850, there's a total of 48 states. So it was a very big push to gather a bunch of land that was Northern America. And by 1850, most of the states are in the Union. Now, this causes a couple of problems that we're going to go over that contribute to the Civil War. Problem number one is having to do with what do we do with this new land? So, since we're going over the Civil War, the subject of slavery is the reason why the United States has the Civil War. And problem number one is what do we do with this new land? So, do we add one slave state and then one free state one by one? And so as we get these new states like Kentucky, as we get Nebraska and Kansas, are we going to be like, okay, are you going to be a slave state and then you're going to be a free state? Can't really do that because now it's going to upset the sectional balance in the Senate. And let me tell you a little bit about that. So the second problem is that we have sectionalism growing in the United States. Sectionalism is basically where you have loyalty to certain interests. This could be a region, this could be a section of the country, kind of like how we have conservatives and we have liberals. And pretty much right now in today's country, you're either on this side or on that side. And during this time period in the 1800s, you have the North, as you can see on the map, and then the South. And so these were the conflicting interests at this time period. And what they're fighting about is what do we do with the West? Are they going to join the South side or are they going to join the North side? So one of the big differences between these two is their differences in order for them to fuel their economy. So Southern Farmer Clan, you look at the Southern states, what do they need in order to fuel their economy? Well, for the Southern states, they need slavery. They need slavery because of free labor. And the slaves work the plantations. They need farming equipment. They need a lot of land. And the climate in the South, if you've ever been in the South, in the summer, very humid, soil is very rich. And so for the people living in the South, that is a way, pretty much their only way to make money. And it was a lot of money. During this time period, there was more millionaires in the South than anywhere in the world. However, people in the South were poor. In the northern part of the United States, they need different needs. And so industry, when you think of industry, you want to think of factories, and they also need people to work the factories. However, they rely on immigration, which we're going to go into the next part or in our next unit, but they need machinery. So they don't necessarily need as much. They need manpower, but they need more machinery because they're making textiles, they're making equipment. And so their economic needs are different. So this causes the conflict. So your second problem, or your problem going into with sectionalism, is politics. So what do we do with these new states? So what we will call them is as free soil. So what they want is in a new state, there's not going to be slavery. And so what happens there is as we add new states such as Missouri, Kansas, and all these other new states, do we just make them states that do not have slavery? Well, that is going to upset the South. Or we talk about popular sovereignty. And popular sovereignty is that, well, let's have the people decide. If you're living in those states, let's have you vote. You're going to vote whether it's going to be a slave state or it's going to be a free state. The problem for the South is most of these new territories choose free. And that's going to be a problem because now the South is losing political power. So the power that it has in Congress, and remember we've talked about House of Representation, we've talked about Senate, there's going to be more people on the northern side in the Senate and the House of Representatives and basically can vote them out of even keeping slavery. So there's already problems going on with that. The third problem are the social views. So there are differing views on slavery. Obviously, we know that a good majority of people in the northern side of the United States, they know that it's morally wrong to have slaves, but in the southern states, that's a way of life. What ends up happening is in 1850, they passed what's called the Fugitive Slave Law, the Fugitive Slave Act. And that basically means that the government has to pay slave catchers to catch runaway slaves fleeing the South into the North. And if you were someone in the North that was helping to hide slaves or keep them hidden, you would be fined and go to jail. And this is going to upset the northern states. Reason why it's going to upset them is because now they're in direct participation with the slave trade, with slavery. And so with that leads to fanatics. And a fanatic is a person who will literally do anything that they need to stop slavery from happening. So they refuse to compromise, and they're going to stop slavery no matter what, even if that means violently. So a couple known fanatics, John Brown, Charles Sumner, and in an event called Bleeding Kansas. So Bleeding Kansas was an event where you have fanatics that were opposed of slavery, and they go into Kansas and they end up slaughtering a bunch of innocent people living in a town, even though these people did not own slaves. And so these are your major conflicts that you have, those four problems that you have between the North and the South. And it isn't until the election of Abraham Lincoln, which we'll go over soon, that the South finally has the last straw and they decide to secede from the Union. Thank you guys so much.